All right, still monitoring the president. Meanwhile, the impeachment efforts ramping up after a second whistleblower has come forward, reportedly with firsthand knowledge of that Ukraine call. Independent Women's Forum Inez Stepman with us, Democratic strategist Kevin Chavez, and a former federal prosecutor, Fred Tisi. Fred, ended with you, so let me start with you on this idea that this whistleblower, and maybe others, because you hear reports of others out there, closer to the fire because they know or the details here more than the first. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, the hallmark of a whistleblower complaint, Neil, is that the individual has firsthand knowledge about what was going on. And some of the rocks that people were throwing at the first whistleblower was that this wasn't based on firsthand knowledge. Now, the backstory real quickly is that generally when a whistleblower goes and blows a whistle on something in the government and they save the government money, they get a portion of that money, which obviously doesn't apply here. But the rules are you have to have information that other people didn't have in order to be a whistleblower. So if there's another person who does have firsthand knowledge, that would have a little bit more credibility than the first one.
Inez, where is this going?
Look, I'm not sure a second whistleblower makes a huge amount of difference given the fact that we have the transcript of this call. And I think the people who are standing behind the president, the voters who are looking at this and saying, yeah, we are going to stick with the president, even though they might not be happy with what the president said on that call, are concerned about the partisan nature of this. They're concerned about the federal agencies potentially being politicized. And I don't think that those deep state concerns are going to be allayed by a second whistleblower. So I don't know what this will change. I mean, of course, we'll have to see what the second whistleblower says. But I don't see this fundamentally moving the ball when we can all look at this transcript and judge for ourselves.
So the transcript notwithstanding, Kevin, one of the things that's come up is that Democrats might already have the votes in the House to proceed with impeachment. But Nancy Pelosi is keeping her cards close to her vest because she's not sure that if publicly called out, there are the 218 votes there. What do you think?
Right. Well, I think there are the votes there. I mean, based on what I'm hearing from some people on the Hill, the events of the last week have really started to swing people more in favor of impeachment, especially on the House side. And we're even seeing president's allies, people that have been his staunchest defenders, coming out against many of his actions even today, which isn't related to the impeachment, but his decision to pull troops out of Syria. I just think that sort of reflects where we are with this president, and the fact that people are saying, hey, enough is enough. What we're seeing from him is frankly becoming more and more unhinged, and it's really troubling because he clearly is acting in a way that is rubbing people the wrong way. And I don't know if he's not listening to advisors or what, but it's very problematic, and we're seeing his support continue to languish because of it, and in fact, his support is dropping.
Well, you know, it's hard, depending on the poll, and hard to look at one way or the other. Things are holding up by and large for him. But, you know, Fred, one thing that Kevin mentions bears weight, that even though the Democratic House would probably vote for impeachment as things stand now, it may be too early to say if it ever got that far, but that it's going nowhere in the Senate. Now, we have had people like Susan Collins, Ben Sasse, Mitt Romney, Robert Portman raise concerns about the president's phone call and you know, the China thing, that more are expressing publicly their concerns. Where do you think that goes as a prosecutor? Do you think that makes a difference? In other words, when your own side raises hackles?
No. Because the bottom line is that when you're, as a prosecutor, and if you're going to impeach, the question is, what is the evidence, what's the crime, and what's the evidence that supports that crime? And quite frankly, if it could be spun another way, for instance, nobody would indict Jimmy Carter if he called people around the world and said, guess what, I don't like what you're doing in human rights, and I'm going to hold up all our aid to you. Okay, so this,
well, that's a little different than citing a potential opponent in the next presidential election, right?
Well, that's the Democrat spin, right? But if he's saying to you, you need to clean up
I'm mentioning
the corruption.
what Republicans are saying. Some of those that I mentioned.
Well, I understand that, but let me get back to your original question, which is, there are policy differences between people like Mitt Romney and a lot of other people. They may not like what the president's doing, but there's a lot of people who believe in it, and a lot of people are tired of seeing American soldiers die in foreign soil. So, I mean, they don't like him. You don't like the guy. 393 days and 10 hours from today, you get to fire him.
All right.
Okay?
We shall see, guys. Well argued. All of you well argued. We'll